Hi, my name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses with Healthy Black Woman, and I'm here today with Shaquita Graham, founder of LovingTheBlackMan.com and Atetco.com. How are you doing today, Shaquita?
I'm doing good. Just laughing as always. The conversation that's like kind of off camera is hilarious.
Okay, so this is an interesting topic that we're going to do for this segment. The title is Jamal Bryant says, "These hoes ain't loyal." He said that, and I actually saw the video clip where he said that. Jamal Bryant says, "These hoes ain't loyal," but then he tells us what loyalty looks like. I want to pull up something you shared at LovingTheBlackMan.com, and it's actually titled How to Love a Black Man, and it's by Dr. Jamal Bryant. And it actually goes down and gives us the four C's? Yes, the 4 C's of how to love a black man. You can tell us a little bit about that since you shared it at LovingTheBlackMan.com.
Right. So, and this is not to bash Pastor Jamal Bryant because, I've seen him he's one of the only pastors who met with Farrakhan during promotion of the Million Man March. He went in on the so-called preachers who were so-called Trumped. Mm-hmm. They were part of that whole Trump meeting thing. So I give him his props for that. And I really like what he did with this information because he broke it down to the 4 C's. And I kind of add to this, but one thing that he said, the first C is cheerleader. He says that when you're loving a black man, black men request that their women learn how to be a cheerleader for them. A cheerleader, he says, is not there for when the team is winning, but they're necessary after a tackle or after an injury. And every black man yearns to have somebody on the sideline who cheers for them. And a lot of times we miss that because we buy into the narrative that so much propaganda has told us that our men are not worth cheering for. And every time they make a mistake or if they don't do what we think they should do, there's some type of fatal flaw. But, I really put that in line with respecting someone. When you respect someone, you believe the best of them. And that's the thing that we need to start doing, being a cheerleader.
Okay. In that spirit of cheerleader, I think it's important that we clarify that, the video that I saw, I think was back in 2014, maybe 15. I can't remember too clearly. And actually saw a video where he said, these hoes ain't loyal. And he was talking about black women. But to clarify, it was actually just a small clip of a whole sermon. And when you looked at the whole sermon, you could put it into context. And actually, he was also quoting somebody, which at the time I didn't know because I don't listen to that kind of music a lot. I think it was a Chris Brown song. And it actually, when I heard it, it says those exact words. It keeps repeating, "These hoes ain't loyal, these hoes ain't loyal." So he's quoting something. So we don't, our intention is not to throw him under the bus. So I just want to clear that out. But I still do have to bring up the fact that I do remember also reading about Dr. Jamal Bryant, where it was in 2013, he had a horrible scandal where he had an extramarital affair, which caused a huge scandal in his church. And he eventually did interviews about it and spoke very candidly about it. And what he said is that this scandal tore up his marriage, so him and his wife divorced. And it almost ended his ministry. But he was able to rebuild. And he says he has become a better man and a better pastor as a result of that thing happening. I think it showed him a lot about himself and taught him a lot about himself and caused him to want to go forward and do better. And he still has a thriving ministry now. Like I said, I looked at the information which you shared at LovingTheBlackMan.com, and the first thing on there was cheering, which you shared. And then the second thing was, it says conditioner, which I'll just read a little bit of it. It talks about a conditioner, a conditioner which I think he's making it similar to a conditioner that you put in your hair. He says it detangles. A woman's first assignment in loving a black man is to bring order. The conditioner also stops breakage. The role of a woman who is involved with a black man is to stop him from having breakdowns. It alleviates dandruff, and he says signs of death in the scalp. So he's talking about, he's using the word conditioner very broadly, and he makes those, he makes it similar to, but I think we can get the gist of it is that when I think of a conditioner, actually it does make things easier. That's the,
yeah.
you know, and I've had a lot of conversations about what it means to love, just to love a person, which also, of course, applies as a woman loving a man, is what is part of your role in loving this man? And part of it is just to make things easier for him. And for him to do the same for you. But for the sake of this conversation, it is making things easier. And that's what a conditioner is.
I like the term.
Go ahead.
I like the term. I hear Tariq Nasheed say cooperation. Sometimes we need to just cooperate, you know?
Right.
Like, hear the man out, let him have his plans. Making things easier can be just as simple as listening, trying to be an advocate, trying to be agreeable, being gentle, smiling, being humble enough to think that a person can come up with a better idea than you, okay?
Right.
So, and just get on board sometimes, you know, let him figure it out along the way. So I agree. Conditioner makes things easier, and it goes into his other C, which is co-pastor.
And that's the
you
third
want to
C.
talk about that?
Yeah, I can quickly take a look at what he defines it as. He says the man in biblical structure order is the priest of the home. Unfortunately, in the Christian construct, more often than not, the woman is more disciplined in spirituality than the man. The woman in that relationship is assigned or deputized as the co-pastor. I think that we can broaden this and not just keep it in the Christian umbrella. In terms of what the call for the man is to lead. But actually, in a household, a woman is a co-leader, or if he's the CEO, then you are the CFO, the COO. There's also a C there in the sense that you also have that chief title. But it still goes back, I think, to what you mentioned, where cooperation is a big part of it. And one of the things that you said is about cooperation that I wanted to throw something in is sometimes you may actually feel that your spouse is not entirely right, but I think that we should give people the freedom to be wrong and maybe consider that we might be wrong, and which is what people do when they lead together, or sometimes step back and let another person follow through and do what they think is the right thing to do. That's the way I look at it when he says co-pastor, because my husband's not a pastor. I'm not a co-pastor. That doesn't apply to me, but I think we could look at it in terms of pastors are the leaders of their flock. And in terms of a household, the two leaders are the man and the wife are the leaders of that household.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's the last one.
Mm-hmm. Conspirator.
Okay, I'll quickly read it. It's called the conspirator. The woman who is connected to a black man has to come up with a conspiracy for his success, setting him up for greatness in his absence. Absolutely. I know you have thoughts on this, but this is something that I've actually talked a lot about. And gosh, do you know how hard it is to go through life to think that the person who you've joined your life with is not supporting you and is sticking a knife in your back? Who can go through life like that? So when you can, as a person, as a man, since we're talking about what it means to support a black man and love a black man, if you can step out of the door every day and you face so many things, and we know black men face so many things, if you can face the world, but you know that the woman that you left at home, or maybe that you both stepped out of the home with to go to work together, whatever, if you know that she has your back, no matter what a confident way to walk through life. So that is one thing that I think, I love that he called it that, but how he elaborated on it is absolutely true, is that she's always setting him up for success. And unfortunately, we see where there's the opposite. You live with a person, but they're bringing you down. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't help but to think of the paradigm as totally different. We had talked about Monique Presley as an advocate or the lawyer for Bill Cosby. Mm-hmm. And she kind of epitomizes this kind of woman or this kind of relationship to me, even though it's a client-lawyer relationship. But she is the person who's going before him, educating the public on the merits of the case, speaking out on his behalf, being that cheerleader. She's cooperating with his defense, and she's speaking intelligently and powerfully for him. And I think that's the gist of what we're saying. And there's more to it than this, but I think this is a good, well-rounded viewpoint or point of view to head into a relationship, even if you're repairing your own relationship. Being humble, being a supporter, being a cheerleader, being cooperative, all of those things. And part of being a conspirator is to carry your end of it. Right. You do M3, where you're talking about money making, motherhood, marriage. You're carrying, you're upholding your end because you are in business together. So you're handling the parts, the roles, and the duties that, you can handle. So, right. I think that sums it up well.
I think that's a great example that you brought up when you brought up Bill Cosby's attorney, that black female. And I think we've spoken about this before, where we were talking, I think, at the time about his wife. And I think it's so important to understand her role. Okay, the key word is role. Okay, she is not there to do what the attorneys on the other end, where they're called the prosecutors. Okay, that's their role, is to put him away or to destroy him or whoever else is working against him. The conversation isn't about whether he's guilty or not. It's she understands her role in the scenario, and she's doing it to the best of her ability. In fact, she's blowing it out of the park. And you see, and it's a great analogy, because then when you talk about being in a home with a man, if you clearly understand your role, then maybe he's wrong, maybe dead wrong, or he's screwing up, or whatever it is. But if you have a clear understanding of your role, then you're not going to get caught up. And I think we talked about this in our conversation before the segment. You're not going to get caught up in what you're seeing on TV with the thug, and you're not going to get caught up with the way that a black man's image is being assassinated. You're not going to buy into that, because that contradicts your role. You understand your role. And I'm so happy that we've had this conversation, because a lot of times, when you and I get together, we talk so much about, what should men be doing? This, and I often say it, they're supposed to provide and protect, and, several other things. And the conversation always goes to, it seems like, we're these two demanding women who say what men should be doing. So I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to, turn the conversation around and really focus on what it means to be not necessarily just a good wife, but to be a black woman who supports a black man and the black family and the black community. But I'll let you get the last word in before we close out our session.
Well, I think you said a lot there. The bottom line is this role is a very powerful role, but sometimes the most effective way you can carry out that power is just zipping, just being quiet, smiling, and really believing in that man. Absolutely.
Again, to those of you listening, thank you so much. Thank you, Shaquita, for joining me on this awesome segment. For our audience, this is Shaquita Graham with Loving the Black Man, so a very fitting topic for her. And also, she's also the founder of techco.com. My name is Nomalanga Mhlauli-Moses, and I am the founder of Healthy Black Women. And this has been a segment of Your Black Women, where Black women keep it real. Thank you for watching.